Hey everyone, welcome to Gen 80 Talks with myself, Hatz, and my wonderful co-host, Anahi.
Hi, thank you. In this podcast, we're going to be tackling different topics that have to do with life, success, failures, and everything in between. We're going to be talking about relationships, love, family, careers, etc., and all the challenges that we face in this life that we're living. So stay tuned, subscribe, and join the conversation.
Yeah, so sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. I believe in miracles. Where you from?
See, that was a good
You
one.
sexy
That's a
thing,
really
sexy
good one.
thing. Yeah. I believe in miracles.
Hi everyone, this is Gen 80 Talks with Anai.
And hats. Don't know what we're doing with our hats, but okay.
And today we're going to be talking a little bit about one of the topics that I love talking the most about, which is...
Romantic love, love languages, and expectations. And to be honest, I think this is a really important subject.
Yes.
Especially through having
Corona?
Well, no, man. Why do you have to always refer to Corona?
I don't know. I'm traumatized.
We're all traumatized. We will have a relationship and a romantic relationship with Corona, but that's not the point. The point is...
Apparently that's what we're doing too.
Yeah, we don't even know we're doing it. Yeah.
And I drew. Okay,
yeah,
carry on.
No, but seriously though, obviously this is something that I went through, having got married and then it didn't just go well. And one of the key issues was the love languages were not being read between the two people in the relationship. Mm-hmm. And that was a big problem. I mean, if over a certain amount of time you can't figure out what love language your partner reacts to or communicates in, then it will become an issue later on. And,
totally.
And that's one of the biggest issues for me was this, that there was zero communication from that side of things.
Yeah.
Little things like when you're having a hard day, you expect somebody to give you a hug because, and we're going to go into all these different types.
Yeah, especially you said something, a really important word, which is you expect. And romantic love is one of those situations where we are back to being triggered as we were in infancy, in the terms of how we react to the other person. So remember when we talk about the circles of intimacy, and we talk about how you go from you, like mom equals me, and then how she moves out of that circle and a little bit further. And then the next circle after your own relationship with yourself is your romantic partner, right? So the issue there is that many times our expectations and what we learned romantic love was supposed to be doesn't match the reality of the relationship that we are at, especially once we have passed the first part, the honeymoon period, and you start going through hardship and, conflict and all that. And that's when a lot of couples break up. So you have the beginning, which is when everyone is drugged, because we are drugged. Like we have more oxytocin, we have pheromones, we have all these amazing hormones that are keeping us enticed by the other person. They smell amazing. All our receptors are like, whoa, this is the best thing ever. And then what happens is that once we pass that hormonal state, and we go back to being normal, if you don't have the tools and the resources and the disposition to actually face conflict and grow through it together as a couple, that's when most relationships dissolve after commitment happens.
And I think it's growing up plays a major role in conditioning you and the way you will seek your relationships going forward. Of course, we all go through it. We all have our experiences through our friends, and whether we're in our mid-30s or late 30s or early 40s, whatever.
Or early 30s.
Or early 30s or whatever. But the point is, you grow up as a kid in a certain environment. You have parents who are very soft, extremely loving. They give you lots of love. And then you have parents who are very reprimanding and always like on your case, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're not doing this. And obviously, as human beings, you react, right? So sometimes you wish that they were less tough on you, or you wish they would be more loving, or all that kind of stuff. So I'll give you an example. Like my mum, just a very small example, is that whenever we were being woken up in the morning to go to school, if my dad was waking you up, you were like dreading that, like dad's coming to wake you up. But if it was your mum coming to wake you up, or my mum coming to wake us up, she'd always she'd sit next to you on the bed. She'd say to you, okay, right, are you going to get up now? Can I just sleep another 5 more minutes? I'm just okay. She's like, well, sit up and you can sleep 5 minutes in my hand. And that was her way of getting you out of bed.
Oh, that is adorable.
Yeah, well, yeah, she is adorable. But
she is.
My dad's adorable too, in his own special way. But the point is, when my dad was waking up, is come on, wake up. We have to have breakfast. Get down. Da 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 da. And you don't react to that. You always. It's very hard to explain, but if it's something you don't like, you won't be receptive to it.
Yeah.
And then obviously that then translates into your adult life. When you meet a girl, when you meet a guy, if that person is very sort of regimental with you, that might be something that you are not traumatized by, but you just don't like. So
you're wounded.
Yeah, I guess so. And I think we're going to talk about childhood wounding, or did we talk about that in the last episode?
We have talked about that, and we can touch base with that.
We can, but
okay. So side note, quickly.
Yeah.
You know how I wake up my boys? I get in bed with them. We have to have mandatory cuddles every morning, and then I tickle them.
But do you reckon when they're older, and they have family and kids, they'll probably do the same thing?
I hope so. My mom used to do that. My mom will sometimes dress me half asleep. I love cuddles. I'm very physical, so I love to do that with them. And I'm not a Mother Earth. Oh, mom, I'm not that. I'm actually quite strict in many ways, but I do like cuddles a lot. But more with what you were saying, not only do we learn about love from how our parents love us, but also how they love each other. Mm-hmm. So children are conditioned, they create an archetype of what a relationship should look like or should feel like for what they're seeing with their parents too, and the dynamics. So unfortunately now, we live in a more individualistic society where a lot of the times children don't experience other couples beyond their parents, maybe their grandparents. But for example, for me back in the day when I lived in Venezuela with so many cousins and aunties and uncles and stuff, the construct that you create about what romantic love should look like or feel like comes not only from me, my mom and dad, but also my grandparents, my uncles and aunties. How do they relate? How is it? What am I consuming in terms of what romance is, right?
But then
then there's also media. Yeah. So you start to create a construct of, okay, so a marriage looks like this, and this, and this, and you start to create kind of a puzzle there that later on you project or you want to live when you are in romantic love.
But you see, that's the human beings they're very simple, but they're very complicated too. And what I mean by that is, you are, let's say, the result of many things. Yeah. What you watch, what you see, the 5 closest people to you in terms of your friends or your family, all these kind of things are things that you feed on, and then you shape yourself based on that. Yeah. And that shaping process can go in so many different directions, yes. Right? There is the whole idea of what is normal is all dependent on what you input to that person.
Yeah.
So just one other thing that you were saying, that there are also parents, single parents that are growing up, yeah. Bringing up their kids. They don't have the mum or the dad around. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they don't even have that opportunity to see that relationship.
But you can still model love, because love is love, right? And you also have children that are being brought up in divorce households, and then divorce can look so different from person to person, sure. Family to family. Yeah. So the reality is that this is how we start to create a model. However, and this is a very big call of action to everyone listening or watching or both, there's a moment in life where you have to take ownership of the archetypes that you have created and the beliefs that you hold against key items like, of course, romantic love, money, sexuality, religion, all of those things. There's a moment that as grown-ups we have to take responsibility for, because it's very easy for me, for example, to be like, well, I'm gonna suck at romantic love because my parents are divorced and that they broke me. But that's a very childish way of looking at life. Yes, a lot of what I learn about love, yes, a lot of what I learn about relationships and the mechanics inside a relationship comes from a relationship that unfortunately ended rather shittily. But then also I have had to do the work to create a different model for myself that I could actually put my back on. And it's not a perfect model. I mean, come on, I'm separated already and facing a whole new world of being divorced and having kids and all that, which is totally unexpected. But if I say, well, this happened to me because my parents divorced, then where is my free will? Where is my growth as a human, you know?
Yeah, you have to take ownership for your own actions
And
in
you
your
also
own
need,
life.
and you need to challenge those beliefs. So, for example, for me, one of the beliefs that I always held about love was that romantic love was just at the beginning, but eventually when things got difficult, you end up being alone, because that's what I saw with my mom. That's what I saw with my grandparents and a lot of people around. Like, I am from my maternal lineage, most women have been either single moms or have alienated their spouses, right? So it would be very easy for me to say, well, that's just how I roll. But where's my growth then, you know? So romantic love, it's at the beginning, it's biochemical, it's chemistry, it's my body reacts to your body, hormonally we're gonna click, and there's gonna be all this magic and passion and stuff. And then you have all the emotional components. My wounding connect with your wounding, and we are going to have a lot of sparks there. And then after that is how we're going to make this relationship work. And having said that, I don't think the success of a romantic partnership is based on whether they last forever or not. To me, the success is whether you face challenges without breaking and without attacking each other. So even in a relationship like mine and my ex-husband, I still think that we have been very successful, because despite the fact that we are separated, we have remained really good to each other. We are co-parenting our children together. We are facing a lot of this new, well, first of all, we're facing lockdown together. And we're remaining as respectful as we can. To me, that shows immense success. Now, did this succeed in happily ever after until death do us apart? No, we did not succeed at that. But we have succeeded in many other things that to me are much more important. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes, as a society, we tend to believe that for something to be successful, it has to be forever. And the reality is that there are relationships that are meant to trigger growth in us, and there are relationships that are meant to be part of our life forever and ever.
Right, love languages. So a part of that, let's say, prolongation of a relationship is understanding people's love languages, right?
But not just love languages, also understanding the wounding. I think that this is where we talk about expectations and what each of us need, and how we show up in the relational world, right? One thing that I do with my clients always is at the beginning, like by the second session, they have to have clarity about several things about themselves. So one of the tests that we actually use is a love languages test. And why do I love that?
What are the love languages? We have to...
So there are 5 love languages. There's words of affirmations, there's acts of service, receiving gifts or giving gifts, physical touch, and quality time. So those are the 5 love languages. And this is a theory by, I cannot remember his name, Chapman, that's his name, Gary Chapman.
Is it possible to speak 5 love languages?
Yes, so technically, the more balanced you are, the better. But it's not so much about speaking the love languages as understanding and perceiving. This is all about perception. So, for example, when I was a newlywed, one of the things that drove me crazy, I'm a very tidy person, is that my then husband used to leave socks, like balls of socks everywhere. Drives me mental. And I always complain. And eventually I start seeing that he will actually put them in the bucket. That is an act of love.
That is an act of love.
That is an act. Yeah. So sometimes we are too busy caught up in our own love language, and we miss our partner's I love yous. You know, we miss them. However, this is also a great way for you to have a lot of self-awareness about what you need in relationship and how you can love yourself better. So one of the reasons why my clients take the test is so that we can adjust their self-love routines using the love language that works the best for them. Like, for example, for me, my top love language is words of affirmation. My second love language is physical touch, and then after that comes quality time. So those are the things that I'm gonna crave the most in a relationship. However, if my partner, let's say that their top language is acts of service, the second one is gifts, and the third one is quality time, we are gonna miss each other's I love yous if we are not ready to receive that. And this is where expectations are so important, because if I know where I'm standing in romantic love and I know my needs in romantic love, first I can communicate them better, but also I can make sure that my partner gets them and can act on them. So I'm not expecting him or her to answer to whatever thing I'm thinking. I'm actually actively saying, hey, so I'm feeling this part of me is neglected. Could we maybe find a way? Are you okay? Like, there's more a dialogue. I'm not expecting him to feel me. I'm building something together. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, the communication is important. I mean, for me, for example, I in my relationship, it was very, former relationship, it was very, I was never expecting anything back. I mean, that's the kind of person that I am. I will always do anything for anyone at any point in time and not expect anything back. Openly expect. Obviously, inside of me, sometimes I think, oh, it would be nice if that person acknowledged that I was doing something, but that would be after a prolonged period of time. And after a period of time, it gets upsetting, and the way you deal with that kind of sort of unhappiness or discontent is people are different. People, they vocalize it. They say, right, like you just said, we need to talk about this. Like what's going on? You're not really acknowledging anything, or people tend to go quiet. But this is why it's really important for things or for relationships to thrive. The other person needs to be of some sort of intelligence or emotional intelligence as well, to have this ability to see that the other person is going through something, because sometimes that person can't vocalize their discontent. Like,
so I disagree there.
But I wasn't very good at saying, by the way, I'm not happy with this, because I don't by saying that, I don't want to make them feel as if they're doing something bad, right? Because I don't want to upset them.
But at the same time, you are. So I think that's why a lot of passive aggressiveness and bullshit happens. That pisses me off, because I think that in a romantic love is one of those moments where you are the closest to your original childhood wounding. You are gonna get triggered. You need to step up and say what you need and what you want. And it's not a demand, it's a communication. Anything that happens in a relationship is co-created 50-50. It's never one person's fault or the other person's fault, because even if the other person is horrendous, by not setting boundaries, by not protecting yourself, by not verbalizing what you need, you are basically co-creating that share.
So let's say, for example, as an example, I'm the one throwing my socks everywhere, okay? Yeah. Okay. And
I like that. Okay.
Yeah. Just bear with me. And I pick up my socks because I realize that upsets you. Okay. And then another time you say, I'd really appreciate if you'd load the dishwasher, right? So you do it. I load the dishwasher. And then I do this, and then I do that, and then I do that, and then there's nothing coming from the other side. Like, for example, I don't appreciate it when you do this, or I don't appreciate it when you do that. And they still do it. And then you just end up sort of... Okay, so this is two different relationships. Let's say, for example, you say to me, you want me to pack my socks away, and I say, I want you to talk less loudly on the phone when you talk. Yeah?
That's a totally doable example.
Yeah?
Okay.
As an example, right? I start to pack my socks away. You continue to talk without any, let's say, consideration for my feelings, and you continue to. And then it happens again. You ask me to make sure that I pack the dishwasher or put the dishes in the dishwasher, and I do that because I realize that that's something that will make you happier, or let's say less upset. And then I say, well, you know what, I don't like the fact that you slam the door every time you leave the house or something, and you continue to do that. And then you start to think to yourself, well, hold on a second, and it goes on that way, and then you sort of get further and further apart, because that person, I'm not saying you specifically, it could be me.
I know, it's an example.
Yeah, that person is not taking your feelings into consideration.
Yes, but this is
and that's a very selfish thing.
But no, okay, so there are two things here. One, boundaries are meant to be repeated, especially when they're new boundaries. So if I continually doing that and you don't remind me that I'm doing it, that's also on you.
Yeah, no, but of course you're not going to stay quiet the first time. You remind them.
You carry on saying.
What?
And then, but then at some point is also for you. See, part of this is to say, hey, hold on a minute. I'm noticing a pattern where I have been saying that these things bother me and they upset me, and I don't feel like you're actually acknowledging my discomfort. And I just want to know, is it that you haven't understood what I needed? Is it that You don't care. Or what's going on? So it's not a tit for tat. You tell me this, and I'll tell you that. You tell me this, and I'll tell you.
Yeah, but the problem is
it's
that
not
a lot of relationships end up being tit for tat, and that's when
but
problems
that's bullshit.
happen. Yeah,
but that's bullshit.
Yeah,
so I'm not gonna talk about a shitty relationship, because who wants to have a shitty relationship? We're gonna talk about how do we navigate love from an authentic and a compassionate way, an empathic way. So let's say that again, we're back to that example, right? And you can, like, we're co-working. So we're co-working because we are in isolation, we're in lockdown, right? And you are leaving your socks, and I'm working. Whenever I'm talking on the phone,
I don't get how we can be co-working and me leaving my socks.
We are home working. That's what I meant. So we are
okay,
right now.
fine, yeah, okay, yeah. Like my flatmates, for example, whenever I'm on a telephone call, they go around rustling and getting plastic bags and eating crisps and stuff.
Throwing things at you. That was yesterday.
And whatever, and you just say to them, guys, please don't do this, please don't do this, please don't do this, please don't do this.
You know that they might be watching this, right?
That's fine, they can watch it. They realize that they're really annoying. They don't care, like literally, they don't care. And then the thing is, you guys don't realize that, okay, we joke a lot, but there are some things that I'm starting to take offense to, so please stop doing it. And they still do it. And that's when you think to yourself, you know what, either they're like super dumb and they really don't get it, or they're intentionally being like that to really annoy you, and they just want to push you away.
Because there's not a real boundary.
But how do you set the boundaries? That's the thing.
You keep setting the boundary. You keep saying no.
Until when?
That's for you to decide. Because
that's for me to decide, and that's when I decided to end my relationship, because we were not.
But you co-created that bullshit together.
Well, of course, it takes two to tango, as you say. Of course.
So what I mean is that in the previous, again, going back to the example of the socks and the high volume when you're talking on the phone, if we're working at the same space because we are in lockdown and stuff, and you start picking up the socks, but I keep continually doing that. You have to keep on saying, hey, babe, like I'm doing a report here. Can you just? And then if you see that the other person is just not meeting you there, that's when you go. So I'm realizing that I have set a very, very clear boundary that I needed you to respect. And it's not a request. I need you to respect. My boundary will be respected. You're gonna meet me there, or I'm gonna basically walk away, because there are boundaries that you really need to respect, right? So I'm noticing that this continuously happening, and I need to know what's going on for you. Are you purposefully doing this? Are you not realizing this? What is the issue? And that in that line of discussion, maybe you will understand the person. Like, honestly, I didn't know
maybe
that
person's going through something and they just...
Or maybe they're fucking assholes. I don't know. But if I don't protect... That's why self-love has to be first, because I need to know what is happening around that is triggering this discomfort. Because there are conversations that must happen, and there are conversations that make no sense. Like the sock situation, I'm not gonna get divorced because of the fucking sock situation. That's like a pretext. What's underneath is that the issue, right? So this is why expectations and communication are so important, and this is why it's so key, especially for our generation that was brought up with in they live happily ever after, but nobody ever told you what happily ever after should look like.
That's true.
For us to ask yourself, challenge that notion. What is romantic love to me? What does happily ever after even involves? How do I want to feel when I'm in love? How do I want to feel in a good relationship? How do I want to feel around my partner? How do I want my house to feel like? Like, these are the questions that take you deeper into your belief, your core beliefs about romantic love. And then maybe when you're doing the work, and that happened to me, for example, one of the things that I discovered is that I have a really hard time softening myself around men, obviously my partner, my spouse, because I grew up having to be very strong. I saw my mom being very strong because my dad unfortunately was not around, and when he was around he was very aggressive, so my mom was tough, and so my ex-husband would try to soften and come to me, and I would be like, no. In fact, I would have a tendency to go softer with my mom because she was my nourishment. So when we were living with her, and she lived with us for a while, my issues will not be something that I will share with my ex-husband. It will be something that I will share with my mother.
Yeah, but
that creates a huge gap.
But the ability to be this or that is within you, right? So you have that ability to be soft and silly.
No.
So like, I'll give you an example, right? I'm so when I'm with my sisters, I'm just soft and silly. Like, we just joke around, and I'm a totally different person. And when I'm with my dad, it's a different story. I have to be tough. I can't show any weakness because he expects certain. I mean, there's a 35-year relationship there, so I can't be like that soft and silly
The
person.
story that I tell myself is that I can't. That's a story that you're telling yourself. It doesn't have to be the reality.
But for whatever reason, but the point is you have the ability to be how you want. So when you go back to a relationship, you don't have to.
No, but
if you've got your guards up all the time, right? This is, forgive me, because obviously you've got a different experience. But for me, I've only been married once, and that experience was it was horrendous. It was horrendous. I mean, there were just two different languages. I was speaking Spanish, and they were speaking Indian, right? They just didn't understand. Like, it was just two different languages. If you're in a position where you just feel that you have to put up that defense mechanism all the time, something is not right. Like, it's not
necessarily
right.
Not necessarily.
It's not right.
I challenge that. No, not necessarily, because again, romantic love is one of the moments where we're again triggered. So if I don't have self-awareness about my woundings, if I don't recognize the issues that I have, all the past that I have, and the story that makes me and that makes the person that I am today, and all those things, it's gonna be very hard for me to change that and to show up in romantic love fully, authentically, and self-actualized.
No, but I turned up fully and authentically.
No, bullshit.
No, I did. I did. In the initial phase, I turned up fully and authentically.
In the initial phase, we all do that shit.
But then again, no, but don't forget, my experience was only about, let's say, the actual marriage lasted about 7 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then prior to that, it was about a year. Okay.
Separated, long distance.
Yeah, okay, long distance. But the point is, it was a totally different experience. The point is, the whole idea of the honeymoon period is meant to be like, okay, there are no arguments and fist fights straight up.
Not necessarily.
It shouldn't be like that though. It shouldn't be like that.
Should is a word that doesn't do anything for this context. I'm talking about data, and I'm talking about how relationships work. When you have a relationship that starts as a long distance relationship, the honeymoon period is different because you don't have the hormonal feedback to keep you there. On one side, and on the other side, the way that you choose to marry her was different than the conventional Western society stuff. You were very cerebral, you were very logical. She seems good, ticks all the boxes, let's do this, I want to get married. So why am I saying bullshit? Is because the reality is that you co-created this situation. Was she an asshole? Yes, I'm pretty sure she was. Did you co-create a lot of the drama that went on? 50% yes. Everybody does. There are not victims in relationships. There are not.
I don't disagree. Wounded. No, I don't disagree. Yeah, but that's the thing. So rather than heal each other's wounds,
you just kept poking at each other.
Each other's wounds.
Exactly.
That's
what self-awareness comes in. Yeah. When I say, okay, so going back, so my tendency is that I harden, and that doesn't mean that I'm mean. I'm not mean. I will just not let you come close enough to my emotional world because I don't know if you're gonna abandon me, and that comes from being abandoned by my dad several times, right? My self-awareness means that when I go back into the dating world, I know that there's gonna be a barrier that I'm gonna automatically create, and then I have to either push through that and be like, no, I can be soft, I can put myself back into being hurt, or no.
Yeah, but that's the thing. This is where, and I do believe in clicking, right? And when I say clicking, it doesn't need to be 100% everything clicks, but there needs to be some things that click to allow you to keep driving that relationship forward. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah? But honestly, in all honesty, but let's be very, very honest right now. When you decide to marry your ex-wife, did you have any reservations?
I had reservations.
Exactly.
I had reservations.
And that tells you a big thing. Because
but I had the reservations were not things. Sorry, just to say, the reservations were not. They weren't reservations where they were showstoppers. Like, they weren't like no. There were things like, okay, reservations are okay. She reacts in certain ways to certain things. Okay, I don't appreciate that. I don't like it that way. However, that could be because of the long distance. That could be because of the fact that she still hasn't experienced my love yet fully, and she's holding up things. So I was not like, okay, well, you know what, I need to walk away now.
No, but that's when, as a responsible adult that is co-creating a relationship, you should have, if we're gonna go with should, come forward and be like, so I'm noticing this pattern.
I did.
And then what was her answer? Because
Back down. That person backed down, but they didn't. The next time it happened, they just.
The reservations shouldn't. At the beginning of a relationship, the reservations have to be minimal. Because if you are putting the fulfillment of the relationship, or if you are putting the success of this relationship in whether the person will change a certain behavior or not, we're starting with
that was my problem.
Exactly.
Is that I gave.
Maybe when I love them, maybe if I do this, maybe.
Yeah. I gave the benefit of the doubt. Which was, okay, that person's probably going through a hard time. I was always fed from various people on her side of the fence, which was when she's in a stressful situation, she says things that she doesn't mean, blah, blah, blah,
I'm
blah,
sorry,
blah.
but you're not 4.
Yeah.
You're not a hypoglycemic 4-year-old.
Well, that's the thing. So I was naive in that point of view. So typically, when it comes to sort of assessing characters and stuff, through obviously my coaching, through swimming and stuff like that, I have to assess people's psychologies and see how I can push them to the best of their performance and their ability. And obviously you have to understand where they come from. What makes them tick, basically, is a big question. How can I reach them? How can I have that relationship with them mentally to get the best out of them? And so in terms of let's say what's the word? I've lost my vocabulary now. But the point is, when you assess people's character, I'm very good at assessing people's character to put them in certain things and work with them. In this specific situation, I just lost all of that ability.
No,
right?
you did not. You are not coaching and you swim and you are marrying someone. It's different because you're also going to get triggered.
That's not my point. My point is I did have reservations and I did see red flags. But for some reason, I didn't act on those red flags. I didn't say, you know what, this is something that I cannot deal with and I have to walk away at that point. My guard was down. I'm just speaking openly here. I don't know how to explain it, but sort of like my guard was down. I was more soft in that situation. If this was a job, for example, right, and I was going for a job and I saw red flags in that company, like there were certain things that I would not accept. I would have been like, you know what, thank you very much for the opportunity, but I'm not going to take it. My gut feeling would have taken over.
Exactly, and so that's your responsibility. Whenever, how many? And this is actually, I'm gonna leave this as an open question. How many times have you dated someone and you are like, well, maybe after we get to this point, he or she will stop doing this, and I'm gonna find the lesson in it. Bullshit. If you are negotiating on your partner's ability to change for the relationship to be a success, you are fucked.
No, but hold on a second, I agree, but I kind of disagree as well. I'll tell you why.
That's very grandiose of us.
No, that is true. When you're one of the issues that we had at some point was we did talk about change. At some point in that relationship, we said, there are some things that I've been telling you I don't appreciate that you need to address. And the response was, I am not going to change. This is who I am, right?
I would have said the same thing. If you tell me that I need to change,
no, I didn't say need. I
just
said we need to address. I said we need to address.
I don't need
some things that I don't appreciate that we need to address.
And then maybe she will be like, the only thing I need to address is the fact that you are telling me that I need to change, because that's how she will have read it.
But the point is, her response was, I am now 32 years old. I am not going to change. Right?
Which is fair enough.
Right, but that happened on too many occasions, which is like, well, hold on a second. If I'm changing, I'm 35 years old, I'm older, I'm 35 now, and I am willing to adapt to your style of living. Therefore, I am extending that opportunity.
No, that's manipulative. Because that's me saying, I will change for you if you change for me. That's
No, I'm doing it open-heartedly. I'm compromising.
But Hatz, listen, this is the issue. If you are doing this open-heartedly because you want to change and you want to be better, you cannot expect me to change. If I say to you, you have to love me as I am. No,
we just said that if it's something that you don't like, you have to tell them that you don't like it.
But the other person can always say, fuck you. I'm not changing.
Yeah, but that happened a lot. And that's when it got... Exactly, that was my boundary, though. That was my boundary. So I reached my boundary, yeah.
But the thing is that in relationships, we have to stop wanting the other person to change, for fuck's sake. If you don't like them, dump them. Don't marry them. Don't enter a relationship with them. But the thing... And this is so ingrained in media. How many times do we see a movie where the girl wants to turn the bad boy into a good guy? Bullshit. No.
Once a bad boy, always a bad boy. Right?
No, it is not. I am not a rehab center for broken dudes. I'm not. I'm not a therapist.
No, but why did you have that form of attraction with that person to begin with?
Because we are horn dogs, like we are hardwired to want to have sex and to propagate our.
It's not just about that though. That's not. There's
but
security.
Also we're so lonely.
Is that person going to be a good mother or father to my future kids?
But this is the thing, Hatz, that when you are entering a situation where the success of your relationship is based on whether your partner adapts to you or not, that relationship is doomed, because my partner can always say, fuck you, you met me like I am, and you marry me, therefore I'm not changing. When I am making you change for me, and I'm like, no, but listen, it's not that I want you to change for me, it's that I'm changing for you, so that now you have to pay me back by changing for me. No, I'm saying this is all subconscious. This is not an open conversation. This is all subconscious, and this is like a lot of subtext going on.
Okay.
Then I am manipulative as fuck. If I come, yes, I am, because I'm expecting something in return. If I love fully, I love without reservation. It's unconditional. And I say, I'm giving you my very best version, and I'm expecting the same from you. You don't give me that? Fair enough. I'm packing my things and leaving.
Yeah,
the end.
Which is what happened. And,
exactly.
But that's the thing. Manipulative is a bit. I'm taking that to heart a bit, because.
I'm sorry.
No. But I manipulative can have
we
many
are
contexts.
Manipulative. Like
human beings are manipulative.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm a mom that is like, I gave you my best years, and this is how you pay me. Manipulative. I tell my clients all the time that if you make a decision to stop working, to be with your kids, to do all the things, and then you're regretting it, and then you're throwing it in their faces, you are manipulative AF.
Sure. No, but I'm going back to the socks thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not putting the socks away because I want something back from you. No. This is about compromise in a marriage, right? You are now living and sharing a space with somebody, having been living alone for all your life. When you share a space with somebody, you have to appreciate that person has certain expectations, they live their life in a certain way, and that person has certain expectations, they live their life in a certain way, and you have to work together to make it harmonious, right?
If you want to make it work. So, for example,
but that doesn't mean that I'm putting the socks away because I'm expecting that one day that person, I'm going to have to hold it against it. But that's messed up.
A lot of couples do that, though. It happens all the time.
But that's messed up.
Of course it is fucked up.
I'm doing it because I love that person.
No, I'm doing it because I want to. There's love is not.
No. But no, what you said that was one of the love languages. Is that when you do that, you're doing it because you love the person.
I'm doing it because I want to be my best self. Because I want this. It's important.
No, but my best self can be with the socks anywhere.
Okay, fine. And then you will be like, okay, so we have a good marriage, and this is when
we're going to have to stop at some point because we've been going on for about an hour.
So this is what compromising is not always external. Sometimes it's internal. I go and I say, again, the loud voice on the phone, because that was my thing, and yours was the socks, right? So you tell me, okay, babe, I don't appreciate when you're talking so loud.
Actually, to be honest, it was the actual scenario was loud on the phone, speaking to your parent in a bad way.
Okay.
Because I don't appreciate that.
It's a far-fetched thing, because I would never do that. But
I'm just saying that was the example.
So that's what you're saying, and you're like, that really is important to me, but for my culture, my upbringing, I value a lot the way we talk to our elder, and it is your parents and blah blah blah. Okay, and I continually doing that. Then I am disregarding you and also your culture, and in a way, I'm actually telling you what I expect from parents and from children. So that's really fucked up, right?
That was the actual thing.
But this is the thing.
You can talk on the phone to the grocery store saying, "I want my milk, and if you don't give me my milk now, I'm going to come down and shout at you on the phone." That's different.
It's still disrespect. But anyway, moving away.
You don't want.
But then I go. When I go. If I have self-awareness and I love you and I want you to be happy because we're happy, we have something good here, I will be like, okay, so he's telling me that he's observing, and also it's how we communicate. So let's say that you and I have a very good relationship and we have very good communication, and I don't feel judged or guilt into it, and I'm like, okay, so he told me that he doesn't appreciate when I talk to my parents like that, and that this makes him feel this way, and that he feels that it could mean this to my parents and blah blah blah. Wow, that actually makes sense. I don't know how to deal with it, but maybe I can reach out to him or someone else. And then there's a growth there. Yeah. Obviously, this is much more deeper than the sock thing.
What you just said about growth?
Yeah.
Growth?
But the growth is mine.
I'm not going to lump that in change. It's not change. It's
growth.
It's growth.
And it's mine.
Yeah? But
I'm going back and saying, It's the compromise.
hurt,
I'm so sorry,
Yeah,
love.
that really hurts.
The compromise is not here. The compromise is here. It's
Yeah.
me going. Okay, so
It's here
there's a pattern.
for this.
Exactly.
That's the point.
But I'm not
And
trying to do tip for tap.
I was told categorically that growth is not going to happen. Deal with it.
Exactly. And how do
And
you
I
deal
was
with
just
it?
like, okay, fine.
That's it.
Thank you very much.
Exactly.
I know where you stand now. And that was just the beginning, right?
Exactly,
And
but
it's just like-
that's
and
when
it-
your
and it was a
boundary
trend.
came in,
It
and
was a
that's
trend.
when
And
your
that's when my
boundary
boundary
came in.
kicked in, yeah.
So, for example, for me, with my marriage, right, we both grew a lot. We went through some horrendous things, among with which was my postnatal depression. We had a lot of issues when we had our first son. Then my dad's death. A lot of stuff happened there, right? There was a moment where I realized that the person that I wanted him to become was not gonna happen. Not because he's an asshole, because he's not, he's an amazing man, but because he doesn't have it in him, and that's fine. And the woman that he needed was not me. So it was a very conscious decision of, we love each other, because we do, and we will forever do, because we are co-parenting these kids together, and we are a really good family, but we're not a good couple. We are a great team of best friends raising children together. Let's just boundary that way. And so the conversation was not, you didn't change because you didn't love me. It was more, my expectations and what I want and what I'm willing to compromise does not match yours. And it's time to part ways safely.
Yeah, and I think just obviously we're going to have to wrap this up really at some point, but because we can go on forever.
We can. We have.
And we will. We'll probably touch on this stuff again. But this all comes back to, from my perspective, is not just self-awareness, but also awareness of the other person and what they may be going through. Because there are reasons for everything, right? I know you need to fill up, but there are reasons for everything. So this is what I was saying to a friend the other day, is that when I come back home from work and the dog wants to go out to play, let's say, and you just have had a really bad day, you just want to, I don't know, go to bed, that dog cannot carry on saying, I want to play, 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 I want to, because you're really going to get on the other person's nerves. You need to be aware of that person's situation and know how to deal with that. So if a person is, for example, not reacting to what you don't like, before you go and start attacking them, maybe start asking questions as to, okay,
communication.
Before you have that conversation, okay, maybe they've had a bad day, or maybe you should inquire as to why they're not doing that for you, because maybe there's an underlying issue.
Oh, we're gonna get into tricky.
But awareness.
But awareness is not assuming. So here is when I say the story that I tell myself. So let's say that you're my partner again, and you had a bad day. I don't know. You come home.
It doesn't have to be partners as well. It can be also kids with parents as well.
It can
parents
be your
with kids.
flatmates.
Yeah,
it can
it's any relationship.
Yeah.
It's any relationship.
So that's when I say, okay, so I am coming in, and the feedback that I'm getting is different from what I normally get. Before I start assuming shit, which is we are super good at doing, I will come and say, so hey, Hatz, this happened, and the story that I tell myself is that this is going on for you, and I am reacting by this way, and it's making me feel this way, and I just want to check in with you. That's different than me saying, so he's not doing that or she's not doing that, and it's because of this, because that's when I start assuming. So I have to be self-aware enough to know my triggers, and before I assume that the other person is doing this for A,
intentionally,
Y, Z,
or trying to do that
is to be
intentionally.
like, so this is happening, and it happens all the time. Like I have it sometimes with Matthew, with my eldest, because he's 6 and he's like more responsive, obviously. And I'll be like, hey babe, are you okay? You seem a little tired. You seem a little this or that. And I try not to give him a lot of words because then he will copy them. So I'll be like, are you okay? Are you feeling okay? And then I'll wait for him, and then I will not make up a story unless I have his feedback. The same thing could happen with my parents. It happens with my ex-husband. Like sometimes I'm like, hey, are you okay? Because you look a little bit off. And then the person might be like, yeah, I'm just like, I'm spacing out. Okay, so I don't take your attitude against me. I know that your attitude is your attitude, and you will have a reason, and you might or might not want to share that with me. The issue is when I say, Your attitude is towards me because you blah, 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 and you create a whole story. Remember, our prefrontal cortex make us storytellers. So we have to hold on to the story. The story that I'm telling myself about this situation is that XYZ. And it makes me feel XYZ, and I react by ABC, when in reality what I need is. So when we bring this into any type of relationship, but particularly romantic relationships, we can hold on to the stories that we're telling ourselves instead of imposing them onto the other person and reacting from a place of assumption that is just bullshit. And with that bombshell of coaching, we have to wrap it up, Buttercups.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
I want us to end on a slightly more green note. Green and sunny. Yeah.
But
Do you know? We should listen to that song, Michael Jackson, "Man in the Mirror." Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to sing that song right now.
Please
but
don't.
Just listen to that song, "Man in the Mirror" by Michael Jackson.
And do know that if you are experiencing distress in your romantic relationship, it makes sense. It doesn't mean that it has to end. What it does need is that you need to put on the hours to figure yourself out and then be honest and loving and kind to your partner and have an honest discussion about it, because they might be going through the same thing and you can navigate that together instead of just picking each other to pieces. Don't let your conditioning win when it comes to romantic love, because romantic love is special and it can be super healing and super amazing. So just keep the magic going. Is that green enough?
Yeah, and with that, thank you for listening to this episode. And
like, share, subscribe, do all the magical things.
Yeah, woo. We have to get to like,
yeah, like,
share, subscribe, whatever. But anyway, yeah, we hope you enjoy it, and
see you next week.
see you soon.
Bye.